he circled pulse, a 72-second flash of radio waves. So this has become known as the WOW signal.
For 72 seconds in 1977, Earth may have heard a message from the stars, the mysterious WOW. Signal never repeated, then vanished into legend.
The question arises as to whether 3i Atlas transmitted this WOW signal. And I'm encouraging to check whether there is any radio transmission from 3i Atlas.
But now, a strange interstellar visitor named 3i Atlas is stirring the same questions. Could it be connected, coincidence, or contact? Let's uncover the truth. The mystery that won't go away. Every time astronomers turn their eyes back to 3i Atlas, the story gets stranger. It isn't just another icy rock from the void. It behaves like it has secrets. Secrets that might reach back to one of the most puzzling signals we've ever received, the WOW signal. For decades, scientists wrote the WOW signal off as a fluke. It came once, lasted for seconds, and never returned. But here's the twist. When Atlas was first plotted in our skies, its path cut uncomfortably close to the coordinates where that mysterious signal originated. Not a perfect overlap, but not the kind of coincidence you brush aside either. And that's only the beginning, because as Atlas drifts closer, it keeps doing things that make astronomers frown at their data sheets. It's glowing green. Despite being a carbon-depleted object that shouldn't glow green at all, its coma is spitting out nickel in quantities we've never seen before, while strangely holding back on iron. Metals at this distance from the sun shouldn't even be visible in the first place. Yet, there they are, taunting us. Stack these anomalies together and you get an unsettling picture. A signal that once looked like a deliberate transmission. An object is now moving through our solar system from almost the same region of the sky. A body that breaks the rules of chemistry and physics every time we study it. Maybe these are all coincidences. Maybe. But astronomy rarely gives us coincidences this dramatic. And that's why the question won't go away. Could 3i Atlas be more than it appears? Could it be the same mysterious source that once lit up our telescopes with the most tantalizing whisper from the stars? In the next chapter, we'll go back to that night in 1977 and revisit exactly what made the WOW signal so extraordinary and why its shadow still lingers almost 50 years later. The WOW signal revisited. On the night of August 15th, 1977, the universe gave us something it has never repeated since. At Ohio State University, the massive Big Ear radio telescope was scanning the skies, as it always did, listening for the faint hum of cosmic noise. But instead of the usual background static, the instrument picked up something extraordinary, a signal so strange, so clean, and so powerful that it shook the world of astronomy. It lasted exactly 72 seconds. That was the maximum amount of time Big Ear could listen to one patch of sky before the Earth's rotation moved it out of view. And in those 72 seconds, astronomers witnessed a radio spike unlike anything ever seen before. When the data printout came across the desk of researcher Jerry Eman, he was so astonished that he circled the mysterious signal in red ink and scribbled a single word in the margin. Wow! That handwritten note gave the signal its famous name, the WOW signal. What made it so remarkable? First was its frequency, 1,420 megahertz, right on the natural emission frequency of hydrogen, the most abundant element in the cosmos. To SETI researchers, this was no coincidence. If another civilization wanted to announce itself to the galaxy, this is the one channel they would use. It is universal. Every species that understands physics would know what hydrogen means. Second was its precision. Most natural signals are broadband, spread across a wide range of frequencies. But the WOW! The signal was narrowband. confined to a razor-thin slice of the spectrum. That's exactly the kind of artificial fingerprint scientists had long said they would look for. Third was its strength. The signal was about 30 times stronger than the background noise. If it truly came from hundreds of light years away, the power required would have been unimaginable, far beyond anything humans could produce. And yet, there it was, blazing out of the darkness for exactly 72 seconds. And then, silence. Repeated attempts to redetect it failed. For many, that ended the story. Without repetition, the signal couldn't be confirmed. Skeptics dismissed it as interference or a cosmic fluke. But the mystery never died because nothing else has ever matched it. Now, decades later, we face a chilling coincidence: the origin of the WOW. The signal lies alarmingly close to the sky coordinates of 3I Atlas. One of the strangest objects we've ever seen in our solar system may have passed through the very region that produced the most compelling message-like signal in human history. Coincidence or connection? A sky that almost matches. When scientists first linked 3I Atlas to the WOW signal, the key wasn't chemistry or color, it was geometry. The question was simple: do the two line up in the sky? The WOW signal was recorded in 1977 with coordinates in right ascension and declination, the celestial equivalent of longitude and latitude. For decades, those numbers sat in archives, studied but unsolved. Then Atlas appeared, an interstellar body slicing through our solar system on a path no one expected. And when astronomers traced its origin, the hairs on the back of their necks stood up. Atlas's inbound trajectory pointed to a region of space alarmingly close to where the WOW, a signal, had been detected. The separation, only a few degrees in right ascension and declination. In astronomical terms, that's the difference between two stars in the same constellation, close enough to make scientists pause. Skeptics argued that close isn't the same as exact. And that's true. Atlas did not arrive from the exact point the WOW coordinates indicated. But here's where it gets interesting. Atlas is not a bound comet following a predictable orbit. It's an interstellar object, a traveler from beyond our system. And if it were artificial, capable of maneuvering, then being a few degrees off wouldn't matter at all. Think of it like this. Imagine you pick up a mysterious radio transmission from a ship at sea. A few years later, a strange vessel appears in nearly the same stretch of ocean. Would you call it a coincidence, or would you investigate? That's the puzzle astronomers face. On paper, the odds that one of the weirdest radio signals in history and one of the weirdest space objects in history both came from nearly the same spot are very small. Too small for comfort. If Atlas were natural, the link might just be a cosmic chance. But if it isn't, if it's something more, then the coordinates may not be a coincidence at all. They may be breadcrumbs, a trail leading from the first message-like signal we ever detected to the first interstellar object we're still struggling to explain. The coordinates don't prove anything on their own, but they raise the unsettling possibility that the WOW, the signal, wasn't just a random cosmic whisper. It might have been the first sign of an approaching visitor. Power at a human scale. One of the biggest puzzles about the WOW signal wasn't just its clarity, it was its power. If the source had been hundreds of light years away, as many assumed, the strength of that 72-second burst was almost unimaginable. The signal was so intense that, at great distances, the transmitter would have needed to outshine entire stars in raw radio energy. For decades, that fact alone convinced skeptics it couldn't possibly be artificial. After all, why would any civilization pour that much power into a single radio shout? But here's where the appearance of 3I Atlas forces us to rethink the problem. If Atlas were near the region of sky where the WOW signal came from, not hundreds of light years away, but much, much closer, the entire math changes. Instead of requiring star-level output, the energy demand drops dramatically. At its estimated distance back in the late 1970s, Atlas would have been about 600 astronomical units from the Sun. That's far beyond Pluto, but still inside the realm of our solar system. At that range, the amount of power needed to create the WOW signal falls to something on the order of half a gigawatt to 2 gigawatts. To put that in perspective, that's about the same as a large nuclear power plant on Earth. Not small, but suddenly plausible. Suddenly human scale. This shift is critical. A signal that once seemed impossibly powerful now looks like something a spacefaring species could realistically produce, if they wanted to be heard, or perhaps not even heard, but detected. The burst may not have been a message at all, but a test pulse, a way of scanning the neighborhood. And if the transmitter was riding aboard Atlas, its power output wasn't cosmic, it was practical. This is where the connection between the WOW signal and Atlas becomes so intriguing. Alone, the WOW. The signal seemed too costly to be real. But if tied to an object inside our solar system, it suddenly falls into the range of the achievable. The question then becomes, if Atlas really was close enough to broadcast the WOW signal with human-scale power, was it trying to say something? Or was it simply sweeping its radar across the planets, curious to see who was listening? The radar hypothesis. When people think of alien contact, they imagine a message, a cosmic hello beamed straight to Earth. But what if the WOW, the signal, wasn't a message at all? What if it was something far colder, far more practical, a radar pulse? Here's why that matters. On Earth, we use radar to probe the world around us. Aircraft scan the skies, ships sweep the seas, and astronomers even bounce radar beams off planets and asteroids to map their surfaces. It's efficient, powerful, and precise. A civilization traveling between stars might use the same method, but on a much bigger scale. The WOW signal had all the hallmarks of a deliberate ping. It was narrowband, short-lived, and enormously strong. Those qualities make sense if you're firing a pulse into a star system to see what bounces back. You don't need to say hello. You just need to know what's there. And here's the strange detail. The signal was tuned almost exactly to the hydrogen line. That frequency isn't just a universal language. It's also remarkably quiet. Natural space noise avoids it, making it the ideal band for scanning. By choosing hydrogen, a civilization could ensure its radar wouldn't get drowned out. It's the interstellar equivalent of using the clearest radio channel. Now think about Atlas. If this object is more than a comet, it may not be broadcasting to us at all. It could have been sweeping our solar system in the 1970s, firing radar bursts at planets in search of something interesting. Earth, sitting in the Goldilocks zone, might have been just one more blip on its radar screen. This idea reframes the WOW signal entirely. Instead of a friendly wave, it could have been a scan of opportunity, a quick survey that happened to cross our receiver. The 72-second burst might not have been designed for us, but we were in the right place, at the right time to catch it. If that's the case, the implications are unsettling. It means Atlas wasn't trying to talk to us. It was simply looking, measuring, cataloging, moving on. Which raises a deeper question. If it was scanning our solar system back then, what exactly was it looking for? The blue shift puzzle. The WOW signal wasn't just strange because of its frequency and strength. It also carried a clue hidden in its Doppler shift, the slight change in frequency caused by motion. When astronomers measured the signal, they noticed it was blue shifted, meaning the source was moving toward us. The velocity? Roughly 6 miles per second. On its own, that number doesn't sound extraordinary. But here's the problem. When we calculate the actual approach speed of 3I Atlas during its inbound journey, it comes out much higher, closer to 37 miles per second relative to the Sun. That's 6 times faster than the shift detected in the WOW signal. So what gives? Why doesn't the math line up? One possibility is that the signal and Atlas are unrelated, a cosmic coincidence. The signal may have come from something else entirely, and Atlas just happens to be nearby in the sky. That's the safe explanation, and many scientists stick to it. But another possibility is far more intriguing: acceleration. If Atlas is not a natural object, but something capable of adjusting its course, then the discrepancy makes more sense. The wow signal might have been transmitted when the object was still decelerating into our system, slowing down from interstellar speeds. By the time we officially detected Atlas decades later, it had already picked up speed again as it fell toward the sun. Think of it like catching a car in traffic. You measure its speed as it slows near an intersection. Then months later, you see it racing down the highway. The two numbers don't match, but both are real snapshots of the same vehicle at different times. That's what the blue shift puzzle suggests. The wow signal was closing in on us at about 6 miles per second, but Atlas today is moving much faster. If the two are connected, then somewhere along the line, Atlas must have changed its velocity. And in the natural world, comets and asteroids don't change speed like that, at least not without help. This tiny frequency shift may be the most overlooked clue of all. It hints that if Atlas really was the source of the wow signal, then we may not be looking at a passive chunk of ice and rock. We may be looking at something that can maneuver. The green glow that shouldn't exist. Comets turning green isn't rare. In fact, we've seen it plenty of times before. Just look at recent comets streaking through our skies. As they approach the sun, they often start glowing a vivid emerald, a sign of chemical reactions unfolding in their coma, the halo of gas and dust surrounding the icy core. Scientists know the culprit well, a molecule called a simple carbon molecule, or C2. When sunlight excites these carbon molecules, they fluoresce a bright green. Simple chemistry. Case closed. But here's the catch. 3I Atlas shouldn't be glowing green at all. When astronomers first studied Atlas's composition, they were puzzled to find it was carbon depleted. Unlike the comets we're familiar with, Atlas doesn't seem to contain large amounts of carbon-based material. Without carbon, there shouldn't be any diatomic molecules to light up. And yet, Atlas's coma has been observed shining with a distinct greenish hue. This makes no sense under normal physics. If a comet doesn't have the right molecules, it simply doesn't glow that way. Imagine striking a match and watching it burn blue when there's no fuel for that color in the first place. Something's off. Mainstream reports on Atlas often mention the glow but avoid diving into the chemistry gap. Why? Possibly because they don't want to fuel speculation. A green comet isn't news, but a green comet with no carbon-based explanation? That's the kind of anomaly that raises eyebrows and questions. So what could explain it? There are a few possibilities. One is that Atlas contains some exotic chemistry we don't fully understand, materials from deep interstellar space that behave differently under solar radiation. Another far more provocative possibility is that the glow isn't natural at all. It could be a byproduct of engineered materials, the kind of glow you'd expect from alloys or compounds reacting in ways we don't normally see in comets. This is where the mystery deepens, because the green glow isn't the only anomaly. Combine it with the signal connection, the coordinate match, and the metallic traces in its coma, and suddenly the green isn't just pretty, it's suspicious. If Atlas really is more than just a natural visitor, the glow could be a telltale signature, not a message like the wow signal, not a maneuver like its shifting speeds, but a chemical fingerprint we weren't meant to notice. And that's why astronomers are baffled. The glow of Atlas is a silent contradiction. By every standard of cometary science, it shouldn't exist, and yet it's there, lighting up the night sky in defiance of everything we know. A comet built from mystery alloy. If the green glow of Atlas raised questions, its metallic signature practically shouted for attention. When astronomers pointed spectrographs at the coma, the hazy cloud of gas and dust surrounding the object, they expected the usual suspects. Comets in our solar system often release traces of metals as they warm up near the sun. But what they found in Atlas was nothing like anything on record. Atlas's coma showed an unusual abundance of nickel, far more than expected, while showing almost no iron. That imbalance makes no sense. In nearly every comet studied, iron and nickel appear together in ratios that reflect their common occurrence in rocks and meteors. If you find one, you usually find the other. They're cosmic partners, born in the hearts of stars and scattered across space in equal measure. But Atlas breaks the rule. It's pumping out nickel while iron is barely detectable. Even more puzzling, this is happening at a distance from the sun where metal shouldn't be vaporizing at all. At the time of these measurements, Atlas was still far too cold for heat-resistant grains, the dense, heat-resistant grains that hold metals like nickel and iron, to sublimate into gas. Simply put, the temperature was too low for metals to be released naturally. So, how do you get nickel without iron in a place that's too cold to release either? One explanation is that Atlas is chemically unique, perhaps forged in an interstellar nursery with conditions unlike anything in our solar system. That's the conservative answer. But there's another, far more provocative idea. What if the nickel is a byproduct? Some astronomers have speculated that Atlas's anomaly could resemble tailings, the waste material left behind from industrial processes. If an object like Atlas were artificial, the nickel might not be natural at all, but evidence of manufacturing or repair. Imagine a spacecraft with a protective shell that constantly needs patching against cosmic radiation. Producing alloys rich in nickel but poor in iron might leave exactly the kind of signature we're seeing now. It's speculation, yes, but here's what makes it hard to dismiss. No comet we've ever studied behaves this way. Even 2I Borisov, another interstellar visitor, showed a normal nickel to iron balance. Atlas is the outlier, the strange guest breaking all the rules. Whether it's exotic chemistry or something engineered, the nickel anomaly tells us one thing clearly. Atlas is not like anything else we've ever observed. And if it isn't natural, then maybe, just maybe, the wow. The signal wasn't a coincidence. It could have been the first sign of an object that's been hiding its true nature all along. Nature's trick or alien design? Whenever an anomaly like Atlas enters the conversation, the scientific instinct is to search for natural explanations first. After all, extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence. And so, over the years, researchers have put forward theories to account for both the wow signal and Atlas's bizarre behavior without invoking aliens. One of the strongest natural candidates for the wow. The signal is a hydrogen cloud drifting between the source and Earth. In theory, a natural narrowband burst, such as one from a pulsar or magnetar, could have passed through this cloud, and the motion of the gas might have shifted the frequency just enough to mimic a transmission on the hydrogen line. Convenient, yes, but critics point out that the odds of such a perfect alignment are vanishingly small. Others suggest Earth-based interference. Could the WOW signal a stray signal from a passing satellite or a military transmission? The problem is that it doesn't fit the pattern. The signal was too clean, too well placed on the hydrogen line, and no equipment known at the time matched its characteristics. SETI scientists spent years chasing down that angle, and they always hit dead ends. When it comes to Atlas itself, the natural explanations get equally strained. The green glow could, in theory, come from trace amounts of carbon compounds that slipped through early analyses. Maybe Atlas isn't as carbon depleted as we think. The nickel anomaly might reflect some unique interstellar chemistry. materials forged in a star system that produced metals in odd proportions. Nature is diverse, after all, and our sample size of interstellar visitors is tiny. But here's the catch. These explanations feel like band-aids. They work if you look at each anomaly in isolation, but together they create a bigger problem. One odd signal, maybe a coincidence. A green glow without carbon, strange, but possible. Nickel without iron. At temperatures too low for metals to sublimate, highly unusual, but maybe. But when you stack them all side by side, the signal, the coordinates, the glow, the metals, the odds of them all being coincidences shrink dramatically. That's why the alien hypothesis refuses to die. It doesn't mean Atlas is a spaceship. It doesn't mean the wow. The signal was definitely a hello. But it does open the door to possibilities scientists are often reluctant to say out loud, that we may have glimpsed evidence of technology, not nature. The truth likely lies hidden in the middle ground. Either Atlas is rewriting what we know about interstellar chemistry, or it's forcing us to ask the question we've avoided for decades. Are we mistaking engineered artifacts for cosmic accidents? Mystery we refuse to face. With everything we've uncovered, the possible link to the wow signal, the strange chemistry, the impossible metal ratios. You'd think telescopes around the world would be locked on 3i Atlas. You'd expect SETI to be blasting out press releases and organizing global campaigns to monitor it. And yet, silence. Almost no dedicated effort has been made to point our radio telescopes directly at this object. Why? The answer is frustratingly human. First, there's the problem of funding. SETI research has always lived on the margins of astronomy. Unlike planetary science or astrophysics, searching for signals of extraterrestrial intelligence doesn't have a steady pipeline of government support. Budgets are small, telescope time is expensive, and most institutions prioritize projects that promise safe results. To spend valuable resources chasing a maybe comet with alien rumors attached, that's a hard sell. Second, there's the fear of ridicule. Mainstream science moves cautiously, and for good reason. The moment a researcher says the word alien, their credibility is put on the line. Careers have been sidelined for far less. So when Atlas began piling up anomalies, the green glow, the nickel imbalance, many astronomers chose to downplay them rather than risk headlines that screamed, "Scientists believe in UFO comet." Better to file it under interesting chemistry than risk becoming the next viral meme. Third, there's the simple fact of oversight. Our telescopes can't watch everything all the time. The universe is vast, and even remarkable objects can slip through the cracks. In fact, some argue that in the past 50 years, we've only spent a few % of our available listening time focused on the region of sky where the signal originated. That means we might have missed repeats, if they ever came. But here's the irony. If Atlas really is connected to the wow signal, then ignoring it could be one of the greatest missed opportunities in human history. Imagine brushing aside the first handshake from another civilization. Not because we didn't detect it, but because we didn't want to look too eager. The truth is, our lack of attention says more about us than it does about Atlas. The object may be hiding secrets in plain sight. But until we overcome our hesitation, our fear of funding issues, ridicule, and wasted effort, we may never know if we're staring at the first tangible evidence of intelligence beyond Earth. Atlas may be whispering. The real question is, are we brave enough to listen? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button. Share it with a friend who loves mysteries, and don't forget to subscribe. More strange discoveries are on the way, and you won't want to miss them.